Hello and welcome to episode 14 of The Endless Stream. I am Aidan and I am here as usual with Kevin and Brian. We are three illustrators, artists and filmmakers that are going to talk a lot of shit about the stuff we watched this week. Each episode we take some of the endless stream of content that is brought to us through Netflix, Amazon Prime, YouTube, Spotify. Wherever there is content, we grab a chunk of it, we watch it and we talk about it. This week we're talking about Loki and Mae Martin's show Feel Good, the stuff that happened during E3, primarily Guardians of the Galaxy. Given the nature of these conversations, they're very spoiler heavy, so if you haven't watched this week's episode of Loki, I would say go and watch that first and then come back. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to the podcast. You can find us on Instagram as well, at The Endless Cast, where you'll find drawings and audio clips and a little additional content to go with the podcast. Also, if you're enjoying the podcast, or if there's something you think we should check out and you want to get involved, suggest something for us to watch, you can shoot us an email over, again, theendlesscast@gmail.com. All of our socials are at The Endless Cast. All of that being said, let's jump into this week's episode. So, Loki is on the cards. I watched Streets of Fire. E3 happened.
Yikes. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, they should have just cancelled.
Yeah.
Okay, well then let's start there. The only thing I watched was the Nintendo Direct. So, what are you guys reacting to?
The only thing I watched was the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer, and
I didn't even watch it. I just saw the picture from it and I was like, no, that's enough of that.
And are people just reacting to Star-Lord and his haircut?
No, it's the whole thing. They're all awful.
It just looks, they all look awful, but it just looks super generic as well.
Like, I don't know, I'm not super familiar with the comic books in terms of how those characters are in comparison to the MCU and stuff, but I wouldn't say any of the characters are like the characters in the MCU. It's just really weird. It's really weird. Like Gamora talking about her dolls or something.
It's funny with the MCU there as well, that these things, like, they did it with the Avengers game as well. It's just like not quite what the audience wants. It's a weird...
I never expected them to look like the film counterparts. I don't know why people expect that, but they also look really bad.
Do you not think they should have like kind of tried to do the same hairstyle? Could be a different face, but like the same hairstyle or something. Or just make him wear his mask.
The thing is, each time they get a new artist on a comic book, you get a new interpretation of what a character looks like.
It's the fact that he looks like one of the Paul brothers, I think, is the main thing. It's not that it's a departure in any particular direction. It's that he looks like one of the Paul brothers.
Those awful guys that are trying to fight everybody.
Yeah, he looks like one of them.
Slight aside, did you watch the Mayweather fight?
I didn't watch it. I couldn't watch that stuff. Did he beat Mayweather?
No. It was effectively a draw. The only way there could be a winner, there was going to be no winner decided unless there was a knockout, essentially. But Mayweather did pretty good considering he's about 30, 40 pounds heavier than him and 6'2" compared to Mayweather's 5'9", I guess.
Also, like 20 years in the difference.
Yeah, that was going to be part of my question. Like, Mayweather is generally believed to be the superior fighter. And during the McGregor thing, he was kind of accused of just like carrying McGregor through just to get the fight for the audience. Mm-hmm. With that much of a weight difference, that's not the same thing at all, really. It's more...
It's not the same thing. Like,
could Mayweather have knocked Logan down?
He could have still knocked him out, but it'd be harder.
I just don't get these young lads, like these Paul lads or whatever. And even McGregor, I don't get it. It's just like you're in your prime. Fighting a man who 20 years ago was in his prime, it's hardly a worthy exhibition, Like it's like calling out Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's done boxing, Even if he wants to keep on going.
Yeah, it's an exhibition bout, which boxing has always had a bit of a spectacle about it anyway,
You know what? One of them fought Mayweather. The other one would fight Tyson, and then the next fight would beat each other
to the death.
I don't think that would have the same. I don't think that would have the same fucking international.
Yeah, but we're old though. The younger
people clearly like them. This is three old farts wishing that they'd been born a couple of years earlier. I'd have fucking challenged Mayweather too. Like, come on. I'm not saying I would at all. I'm just saying it's a different generation, and
yeah, it's a giant payday. But like,
we sound very out of touch bitching about them.
I know, no, we don't, because everybody thinks they're horrible.
Oh no, they are
90%
horrible.
Think they're horrible. Yeah. For whatever reasons, we think they're cunts. That's safe to say. Imagine being their mother. I suppose she doesn't care. Oh God, they're horrible. But they basically just copied the McGregor.
Anyways, Star-Lord, he looks like one of them. I think that's the main problem.
Oh yeah.
Pulling it back on track. Yeah, he just. I mean, I know.
Anyways, it just doesn't look good.
No, it looks bad.
I watched 11 minutes of it.
I don't know. I didn't watch much of it. I just didn't like the look of it to begin with. I saw Rocket's little fucking dangly beard as well, and it's like, why did they do that? That's just because they got physics generation as well, and they want to show you something.
Because he hung out with Thor for a while, and now he's all Norsey.
Oh, that's true. It's kind of nice little logic.
I like that now. Put it back in. That was basically Aiden's brain. I could see it play over his face.
So people responded to the way the game looked. What did people say about the way the game played? Was there any...
It just looks like the Avengers game, which is...
For the listeners, he gave a thumbs down 3 or 4 times to the camera. As has Kev now. No, he's just a weird wank.
No, I was doing a thumbs down, and then I started scratching my eyes.
So you go for like a reverse grip?
Star-Lord.
Let's start over again.
Like, what got announced at E3?
There was some Metroid thing I'm not interested in. Elden Ring, they showed that. We mentioned that last week. Breath of the Wild 2 got another trailer. First trailer in 2 years. I was not pleased.
Why weren't you pleased?
I guess, they announced this in 2019, and then we saw nothing for 2 years, and then we finally saw something, and I know it'll be more than it looks like, but right now it looks like DLC, basically. I was kind of excited to play and kind of return to that world map and kind of see what they've changed and explore it again and see what they've added, but it looks like rather than change the actual world, they've put floating islands above the map. So it looks like most of the new things you'll be exploring will be like islands above the old map. And it just kind of feels kind of tacked on. I'm sure it won't be. I'm sure they're adding plenty of other stuff too. It went into development.
It sounds perfunctory.
It went into development, I think in 2017 when the Breath of the Wild was first released. So it's been in development. It'll be released sometime next year if it's not delayed. So it'll be in development for about 5 years before it's released. They announced it 2 years after it went into development, and I was kind of very excited because they showed a lot of kind of brief things that kind of gave some indication of what it would be about and where it was going, and then showed nothing for 2 years. And then when they showed something, it looks so different to what was shown 2 years ago. It's almost like people got excited about stuff in the trailer 2 years ago and made a load of assumptions about what the game would be like, and then Nintendo were like, oh no, that's not what the game's about at all. We better quickly dispel all of that stuff. I could be completely wrong. Like the first game is superb. They've added some new stuff. It's just, it was kind of for me, I mean, everybody else seemed to love it and was super hyped about it, but for me it was a disappointment considering that it was announced 2 years ago and still know effectively nothing about it. Most of what we know about it is there's a bunch of concept sketches for the first game, for ideas that they didn't include, that they've clearly included. So like Link, something happens to Link's right arm, gets replaced with some sort of like mechanical ancient magic arm.
Ooh,
and that was an idea they had for the first game, and then they scrapped it, but now it looks like they've included it in this game. So essentially most of what we know about this game is from concept art from the first game. And yeah, it's just kind of a frustrating wait. It was kind of
I don't necessarily have an issue with that because I think like fair enough. Like you can't like you could have great ideas, but you can't just put them all into one.
I don't have a problem with them. Yeah, no, don't have a problem with that at all. It's like I said, it's the fact that it's
like not necessarily anything.
It's
new.
2 years after the reveal, and we know nothing about the game still. We don't even know what the game's called. It's called the sequel to Breath of the Wild, is what they're calling it for now. So,
and there's a thing there as well where it's like when you get that far into a production, when it's like it's 2 years later, you think maybe they're just fucking with us and they'll release something in August, and it's like, no, that's not what Nintendo do. They just sit on it. And...
No, if anything, we'll hear about it maybe towards the end of the year, and they'll announce a firm release date. And then 2 months before that release date, it'll be delayed again and it'll be pushed out another 3 months. I'd say it'll be like April 2022, but it'll actually come out November 2022 or something like that. And that's all fine. Kind of used to all that. It's like I said, it's just been 2 years, and I wanted to see something more. I wanted to see just a bit of an indication of where it's going. You know,
even though people are, trawling through patents and trying to get an indication of when the Switch Pro is coming, people were fairly certain that, this big order for OLED screens and this big order for X cases and this big order for whatever the hell else that they were tracking through Asian companies would be an indication of the Switch Pro coming. No announcement. Probably going to come out with Breath of the Wild too.
Here's the thing as well, they needed to release something to compete with Microsoft and Sony's latest ones, but there's been such a problem with the supply for those anyway that they don't really have to compete with those consoles yet because nobody can get one. So they don't really have to do or announce anything yet because they don't have to compete with a PS5. If somebody's out there buying a console for their kid and they were like, PS5 or Switch, it's like, well, they don't have any PS5s, so I guess they're getting a Switch.
Yeah, and lots of people will be buying them for kids for their first consoles or different things like that. Like, so yeah, it's a fair point.
They remastered Skyward Sword. They did an anniversary Game and Watch thing. It's funny to think of them sometimes as like they are a toy company more so than they are a game company in many ways. Like PlayStation and Microsoft famously make a loss on every console, whereas Nintendo makes money off it. Initially, yeah. Like once they start selling games and once they start selling peripherals and everything else that goes with it. But they kind of look at the box as the loss leader that gets you into their ecosystem. Whereas, Nintendo can go, yeah, we're going to make this Game and Watch thing and that'll sell and that'll make a profit in its own right. And
that's their audience as well, It's... Once someone's a Nintendo fan, they're bought into the whole aesthetic and the kind of sensibility and stuff like that. That kind of doesn't go away. They're just going to buy that stuff anyway.
But if you've played Link's Awakening on the Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance and the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo DS and the DS 3DS, and why are you buying it on the Game and Watch and playing it?
Because it looks like a toy.
I haven't. I don't know. I used to be such a Nintendo obsessive, like it was my first console, I guess. So I just was like, I am a Nintendo fan, and they just subsequently just never grew with me. But I guess there's more of my age group coming up behind me that'll love it. Metroid game, you said. There's some Smash Brothers stuff. Is that a new Smash Brothers game, or is that?
No, it's a Tekken character, I think, being added to Smash.
So is it just a DLC?
I believe so. The studio that made, the developers that make Neo are making a game for Square Enix, and it also looks bad. So Square probably had the worst presentation of all of E3 maybe, because there was the Guardians debacle, and then they announced a game that is like a prequel to Final Fantasy 1, but set in like an alternate version of that universe. And instead of a turn-based RPG, it's kind of a hack and slash made by Team Ninja, who make Neo and Ninja Gaiden.
Oh god, that game.
And yeah, when I heard that first, I was like, oh cool, I'll buy that. And then I saw the trailer and I turned it off after about 30 seconds. The character designs are awful. The game world is just grey. It just looks...
What's that called, Brian?
It's got some ridiculously convoluted titles like Edge of Darkness, Final Fantasy 1, and then some other title or something like that. I don't know. It's Square Enix bullshit. Super convoluted and really, really poor character designs. And yeah, I can't wait for them to someday go back to like Yoshitaka Amano kind of aesthetic for stuff. And
Guys with guns for fists.
The guy who did the character designs for like 7 and 8 did some really nice designs, but because 7 was such a hit, he went from being like a character designer to like a game director, and he's got so much clout within the company now, and he's just got the worst taste and instincts for like story and game and character design. Like 7 and 8 designs, lovely, really nice, and then everything he's done since then has just been... He's got too much free reign, it seems like, but he's had loads of bad ideas, and they haven't really taken back any of that kind of creative control they've given him for some reason, which is strange because people are pretty much agreed that he's got like some very bad instincts, and it's all there to see in this game. It's just...
Is he the lad who likes tribal and like spikes and bleach tips and stuff?
Yeah.
I used to love that stuff when I was a kid, in terms of like the games like Bouncer and stuff, and the aesthetic and the character designs. But when I see it now, it's like it was okay 20 years ago, and I literally mean like 20 years ago. It was fine because lots of Japanese stuff kind of were vibing off it as well, and it was a cool aesthetic. But it's awful.
I would even say the Bouncer kind of still looks okay, because at least it's of its time.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Sense.
Yeah.
But he's still designing stuff that looks like that.
Today,
and it's just, it stinks.
Well, I remember I was in your house with the last Final Fantasy game that came out. Remember?
15 probably,
Well, I wouldn't know.
15 or 7, or the 7 remake. Depends on which one you're on.
Then it was "Here I Am, Coming Like a Hurricane."
Yes.
There was a trophy in it with that song, and I was singing that song at the time, and then it came up. So obviously, I don't know what happened. I predicted that trophy.
I'm not following this conversation at all.
No, I got completely fucking lost here. I don't know what's going on.
Brian was playing it, and I was probably drawing, or I don't know what I was doing, and I was singing that song. And then like a couple of minutes later, some trophy or unlock came in, like coming like a hurricane. But they were obviously using some sort of melody from that song or something, because it was stuck in my head and I was singing it.
That's not how I remember.
What happened?
I think the trophy name probably popped up on screen, and then you just started singing it.
I could have it easily, yeah.
Minutes, I think.
Yeah, that could have been it.
I think that's what it was.
Could have been. Yeah, let's go with that one. Is better.
I don't know if it's better, but
I can't
less
remember.
deranged.
That's I associate the two now. That song and Final Fantasy, which is,
it's no bad thing.
but yeah, it's probably just knowing.
So I guess the summation of our E3 experience is nothing really spoke to us this year.
No, it was an awful conversation.
They should have cancelled it. There was nothing to show.
Trailers this week. I had a look at a new trailer for Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds in it. Speaking of video games, yeah, there you go. That tied it together. I didn't realise it involved him putting on glasses to see the fact that he's in a video game world, very much like They Live. I get that reference now because I watched They Live. I have no real interest in that movie. There's a whole whack of other trailers that went up, but like there's a lot of horror again, which we kind of talked about. It's kind of a seasonal thing, I guess. We're post-Oscar season, post-summer blockbuster promotions. I mean, Super Deep, Great White, which is like a Jaws riff, Midnight in the Switchgrass, which is Bruce Willis' serial killer thing. That kind of caught my attention for a moment because it actually, the production value on it looked good in the trailer to begin with, and Bruce Willis has been in a lot of shite recently. I think he fucking lost money in a scam or something. I don't know, but like It reminds me of when Kevin Bacon and Nicolas Cage started doing a whole load of shit because they lost money in the crash.
Right, yeah. At the same time, though, like these guys aren't always going to be on top all the time, and certainly less so as they get older. You know.
Yeah, but this thing,
We should write a Bruce Willis project.
pitch to him.
I guarantee we could write something better than the last 10 movies he's been in. I guarantee. No question.
Midnight in the Switchgrass is that movie. I watched. It
What
just
does that
looked like a
title
lot
mean?
of. I have no idea, but it just looked like a lot of torturing women, chasing down a serial killer. Like there's so much tying up and strangling in the trailer. I was like, ugh, this is pretty aggressive. This is the stuff they're choosing to market it with.
What other B-list actor is like the villain
In that movie?
Yeah, it's probably like Josh Hartnett or John Cusack or something.
I'd have to go and look that up. I didn't recognize him.
Okay. I watched A Good Thing during the week.
Hold on, let me finish the trailer rundown then, I guess. The other two that I just was going to mention with your sign into the microphone. Till Death, again, a B-list. Well, I say a B-lister. Megan Fox movie. I haven't seen a Megan Fox movie in a long, long time. I guess she's, I don't know, trying to have a resurgence.
I like Megan Fox. I don't have an issue with Megan Fox.
Nobody has an issue with them. You don't have an issue with any of these actors. They're trying to make movies. It's just the movies aren't great.
Some of them I do. Some of them I have an issue with them.
The other one is Die in a Gunfight with Alexandra Daddario in it.
Awful. My God.
That is a person I have been rooting for, and every film she makes is unfortunately not a hit. There you go. That's the kindest way I'm going to put it. I'm going to walk back. But like, this does not look good. It looks like it's trying to do Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet, but like I couldn't even get through the trailer.
The trailer was horrific. I couldn't get through the trailer. I think it was it was so over the top. And then at one stage, someone asked one of the characters in it, like, "How did you want to die?" And he was like, "In a gunfight." And it's just like, oh, like. But it looks at it, it's like.
But if that's the name of your movie, that's the line in your trailer that you need to end your trailer on. But there was another minute after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I think there was a thing of it as well that like. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I like reasonable responses to things, and in the Romeo and Juliet story, they're so fucking young doing stupid things. I guess makes a sort of sense. But I was watching this going, these are all old enough to know better. I don't know what sort of old guy response that is, but I was just looking at them going,
a very one.
Here, Alexandra, you're old enough. You should know better.
She was in a movie as well, We Summon Darkness, I think it was called, and I watched it. Johnny Knoxville is in it. I think Johnny Knoxville is like a crazy preacher dude. They end up in a house. They're like kind of, you think they're like Satanists or a cult or something. It was awful. I like her as well, but kind of sometimes I don't know why. She was great in Texas Chainsaw.
What was the thing you were going to say you watched that was good this week?
I watched Soulmates on Amazon. She was in Sopranos.
All right.
She was in Sopranos. She was great in Sopranos. That was 2006.
We've been big fans since Sopranos.
Yeah.
She had a lot of promise.
Yes, I watched Soulmates on Amazon. It's very, very good. The premise is they've worked out technology that kind of you do with testing. You find out who your soulmate is, and obviously technology like that would wreak havoc on a world where people are in committed relationships, married with children, etc., etc., etc. So it's an anthology series. So you have an overarching premise, but every episode is different. Pennywise the Clown is in it in an episode with he was one of
Tim Curry.
No.
Pass.
The one who can walk.
Excuse me.
It's fucking dark.
The Strat Guy's guy.
Bill Skarsgård.
Yes. But overarching thing is basically like, yeah, you find your soulmate and then kind of like.
So is it a comedy or a drama?
It's not a comedy.
It's not really a comedy, but there is funny moments in it. Oh, actually, I did watch Twins with Arnold Schwarzenegger there recently. That movie's mad. But
where Arnold found his soulmate and it was Danny DeVito.
Yes. Yeah. it's an interesting premise. You kind of see the scenario of how it could work out potentially if, you know, kind of scenarios where someone's married and they think they have a good marriage, or people are in a healthy relationship and then one of them finds their soulmate. I think it's an interesting concept, you know. Would you do it? Maybe not answer that. Maybe don't answer that. I wouldn't do it. Put it that way. Emer and I talked about it.
Oh, of course you wouldn't.
I know. No,
well, what's the concept? Like, what's the upside of this concept of soulmates? Like, is it just like, is it a tick box next to each other that you might not like each other, or are you guaranteed to be completely simpatico?
If you're in a relationship, I mean, both sides know that their soulmate is out there as well, right? Wouldn't they?
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah, so.
But like, you know, judging from the show, it's kind of like, it's like just because they're your soulmate doesn't necessarily mean it would work out.
They fundamentally misunderstand the concept of soulmate.
Yeah, it could be friends.
Because that's not what soulmate means.
You mean like how Jay and Silent Bob are soulmates?
They're just two bros having a good time.
But they could be soulmates, right? I think you have platonic soulmates and non-platonic soulmates.
I think it's a bad idea for a TV show because the concept of soulmates is absurd.
Who hurt you, Brian?
Okay, that's fair. But ignoring logic, which we kind of have to do with 90% of the stuff we watch.
It's not even logic. It's
yeah, it's science meets fantasy. It's like, it's kind of a ridiculous thing of trying to kind of make something like soulmates a scientific equation, which is just impossible. But it does raise some interesting questions. I personally wouldn't do it because when you watch it, it's just like, it's chemistry. Chemistry has to count for something.
But if you're soulmates, there's chemistry.
When you ask us, would we do it?
Yes.
Brian and I are thinking about this from the understood premise of what a soulmate is, which is the perfect match for you as an individual.
It's one soul and you're split in two and you're not complete until you find that other part.
Well,
but we don't have chemistry.
What if it's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? You know, you're all namaste and blah blah, and then you meet somebody who's like, you know, anti-namaste.
That's not what Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is about.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is definitely about that.
They don't complete each other.
They do. It's like Hulk and Bruce Banner.
Have you ever seen?
No.
I mean, I'm assuming you're aware that there was a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde musical.
No.
And that Jekyll and Hyde are played by the same person with makeup split down the middle of their face.
No. Sounds epic.
No, and he just turns left and right to be the different person at different times.
Is it very good?
I don't know about that, but what I do know is that it was played by David Hasselhoff at one point, and there is video. And that is
that sounds intriguing.
Pretty fucking funny.
That sounds intriguing. But yeah, anyways.
Is it though? Is it funny? Or is it just, you know...
I'm not saying I'm going to go and watch 2 hours of it, but I'm saying for a 30-second clip that's out there, it's
just reminds me of when he showed up in Guardians 2 and I'm supposed to love it because it's David Hasselhoff and they wrote a song about him. Like, this is the most self-indulgent...
Oh, because they just mentioned him, or did he show up?
He shows up.
Oh, he did show up. Kurt Russell shapeshifts into him or something.
And then there's a song, and then Gunn made such a big deal about, I wrote that song too, and it's like, yeah, we can tell. It sucks.
Yeah, but that's just like, I hate that kind of like when memes transcend the internet and kind of go into real life type of stuff. It's just like, I hate that.
It's the same with Shatner. It's just like, I hate that. Like, we've all laughed about it, and now I'll throw it in here. And it's just like, no, when you put it in like that, it's not funny. Like it's funny for different reasons, and you can't just borrow it and put it in somewhere. And
it's like I was in the comic book shop the other day, and I was perusing, as I do. I like to peruse back issues, moving my fingers like this. People can't see this at the moment, but Brian and Aiden can
He's
see.
Doing the universal browsing through a comic book bin action.
Yeah.
Comic book fingering.
These are strong comic book fingers. I'm not going to say it the way Aiden did. That's weird. But
what?
Nothing. Right, I was perusing the comic book stuff, and there's a few people talking, and as people talk, you know, which is great. But they were saying how they were talking about Loki, and they were saying like, "Oh, I really just want to hear Owen Wilson go, wow, 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 wow."
Nobody that I've seen since the episode aired has talked. Sorry, I'll let you finish in a second. But nobody's mentioned the bottle rocket reference. But we'll get on back to that in a second. Go on.
I haven't seen Bottle Rocket.
Okay. It seems like nobody who watched Loki has seen Bottle Rocket. So
I haven't seen Bottle Rocket. Brian, you can definitely get into that. But all I'm saying is, it's just like they were saying, like they're just waiting for that moment, and then it's going to be a perfect series, you know. And it's just like probably not going to be happen. It'd be funnier. I didn't say this at the time because there were strangers around, and I was included in the conversation because it was like there was not many people there to not be in the conversation, and but I refrained from talking about it too much. But basically, you know, I was thinking that it's not. That kind of stuff is a bit cringe. I think, you know, it's like pandering to that internet culture and memes, and I think that stuff is weird. However, if they were going to do it,
that's why Guardians 1 and 2 are bad.
It's like if they were going to do it, they would have a moment where you think Owen Wilson's going to say it, where he's just like, and you think almost, oh my god, he's going to say it, and then like Loki says it instead. That'd be funny.
Yeah.
Or if he says, like, if Loki said, wow, and then Owen Wilson's just going, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's a clever way of doing it. But I just don't necessarily want to see Owen Wilson going, wow.
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 We just let's fill the rest of the time until
let's do rations until he comes back.
Yeah, and then he has to listen to it and edit through it. Wow.
Wow. All right, you first.
Wow. I can't do it.
All right, then do 3. You get 2 warm up ones and
okay. Wow. 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 Wow.
Wow. Wow. Wow. Wow. Wow.
Wow. Right, Wedding Crashers 2 is coming out. I'm excited for that.
Sorry,
I love Wedding Crashers 2 is coming out.
Oh god.
I was asked to do a best man speech for a wedding before, and I didn't know what to do, and I literally was just going to do a little spiel from the Wedding Crashers because I thought it was like nobody would remember it. But when I said it to Emer, she was like, "That's she was like, what's that from?" I was like, "Wedding Crashers." Like, you can't do it.
No, you can't.
But it was just about like
idea.
You complete each other. You found your one, blah blah. But it's a weird thing. It's a weird speech because realistically, he's talking about himself and another woman as opposed to the bride and groom.
Yeah, don't do that.
I'll save it. You know, maybe actually it kind of ruins my plan to use it at a wedding. It's not actually.
Say it at your own wedding.
I could say it at my own wedding for the crack. Yeah, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I probably would.
Yeah, do.
Yeah, because the Wedding Crashers is a great movie. I kind of hate saying stuff like that now because some of those movies that I really liked when I was younger and stuff, if you look back at them, some of it's not great.
Yeah, not a fan.
Yeah,
Not a fan of that whole
genre of
decade of comedy that we got in that style.
I like it. I like a lot of it.
Wouldn't be my thing.
I don't know what comedy movies do we have now. Do people still make comedy movies?
No,
they don't really. Do they?
It's a joyless time.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no comedies.
Yeah, I haven't watched a comedy.
Everybody's too woke and everybody's too afraid of getting cancelled. And I don't believe a word of the last 2 things I just said there.
Yeah, Brian was just confirming his beliefs that everybody's too woke and
everybody's too woke, and people need to stop cancelling people because they're putting people.
We'll have no people left.
Risk. We'll have no people left.
We'll have no people left.
People won't even be able to joke. And
no,
I've had it up to a year.
I'm scared.
I'm scared.
I'm scared.
I can't even open my mouth because some woke person wants to cancel me.
They could,
and I don't understand them, and they must be wrong.
We could already be cancelled, and we could not.
We're already cancelled. We've been stealth banned, and we don't even know it. Yeah. Hey guys, can you interact with these because we think we've been shadow banned? So
yeah.
If you see these, can you interact? Let us know because
share with your friends, like, subscribe. We've been shadow banned. Yeah,
clearly. Shadow banned. Yeah, because of the.
I'm sick of being oppressed by snowflakes.
Don't even get me started on
the oppression by snowflakes.
This,
wow.
Wow.
Wow. This segment of the podcast has
I'm so glad I don't have to edit this.
No, I know. This is all staying in here, though. You know that.
They should all stay in.
It
They should
is, yeah.
absolutely stay in.
I did see.
It's like jazz. It's freeform jazz. We're just
Speaking of freeform jazz,
yeah.
Eben and I were talking the other day.
About jazz.
No, not at all. What, Brian? Stay
course not.
focused. Stop.
Swine.
Uncultured swine. Jazz is too sporadic for me. It feels like an anxiety tipping over the edge of a table about to fall over.
Oh God, I love jazz.
God, it's insane. It's intense music for
Nice.
insane, life-loving people. I can't do it. It's too intense.
Don't know about that, but I do like jazz.
Jazz is
Jazz.
But we were talking about, I don't know what we were talking about exactly, but Emer was saying growing up she had unconventional crushes, we'd say, right?
Right.
Nothing wrong with them, unconventional.
Steve Buscemi.
Pardon?
Steve Buscemi.
No, Warwick Davis,
Okay.
Gimli,
Okay.
and Jaws,
Right.
not the shark.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
That's the spectrum right there.
Yeah, and when she said Jaws, I was like, the shark. I was like, that.
To be honest, if it was the shark, I would have just been like, okay, fine, cool, yeah.
But yeah, full spectrum there. I like Beverly Mitchell, Lucy from Seventh Heaven. Where do you go when the world don't treat you right? The answer is home.
Enough.
Yeah.
Fucking enough.
And oldest girl in the Brady Bunch.
60s show or comedy film?
I thought it was the same person.
Okay.
They did a great job casting that one.
Right. Is that Ben Stiller's wife? Are you talking about the comedy then?
There could be the comedy one, but yeah, that could be Ben Stiller's wife. No, I was talking about both of them. I thought it was the same person.
Okay.
Yeah.
But which
And I always got confused how they did that.
one did Stiller's wife played the oldest daughter then, didn't she though?
In the comedy movie.
Yeah. But if you think it's both of them, then you think it was her in the...
Possibly.
Like, what I'm saying is if you think it's both, which one do you... If you think they're the same person, which one do you actually think is... Like, who do you picture in your head? Do you picture Ben Stiller's wife or do you actually picture the actress?
I mixed the both.
You interchange them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I think probably more the actress from the TV show. Because there was
TV show, okay.
But there was a black and white one at one stage, was there? And then there was a coloured one.
I don't remember.
I thought there was two versions of it. That's just, as the series progressed, it became colour. I don't know. I can't remember. Anyways.
I just want to say that I got very uncomfortable when you said coloured instead of colour version. I was like, what? Where's this going? Just for yeah, I was like,
Okay.
what the fuck?
No, I meant like the
Colour version.
Yeah, the only way
Not
got coloured in. It coloured. It got coloured. Like, here's a drawing. I coloured. It's
I know,
coloured now.
I know, but yeah,
That's why I'm cancelled,
Sure.
isn't it?
that's why you got shadow banned.
But yeah, so yeah, like the Rascals. That was like another show where I was just like, I watched probably the black and white version and then watched the colorized version. Brian, colorized.
I thought you were still talking about crushes. You were going to tell me the crush on the Little Rascals.
No, I was talking about the Little Rascals.
We need to back out.
Nobody was attractive in the Little
conversation.
Rascals. Nobody was attractive in the Little Rascals. The dog was cute.
Let's not even go there, guys. It's
Beverly Mitchell was Lucy from Seventh Heaven, and which I admit, like, I don't anymore, and I don't see it anymore. They weren't particularly strong attractions, but like, yeah.
Sorry for the interruption there. Like, I jumped off last week as well, and I guess for the listeners, like, I'm looking after my dad. He's not well, hasn't been for the last 6 months. He's sort of bedbound, and yesterday he was trying to turn over, and he pulled on the radiator beside his bed and just yanked the radiator off the wall.
plenty strong.
Plenty
He's got
strong.
you all fooled.
He's got us all. Yeah, it's all a fucking prestige-like trick. The real him is off somewhere having an affair with Scarlett Johansson.
He's like the father from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Don't say Seventh Heaven. Thank you.
No, don't say that. Jesus, Brian.
So, like,
I genuinely thought you might. There's always a chance. Sorry, Aidan.
that's a whole lot of tangenting. I'm sorry.
If you like tangents, wait till you hear the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Also this week, I watched Mae Martin's Feel Good series on Netflix. I think that was a Channel 4 show to begin with, and it's just made its way over to Netflix. I'm not sure what degree Netflix was involved in the second series, but they do flag Channel 4 as part of season 1 anyway. I was kind of happy to see it, because I remember watching the Comedians of the World specials when they launched that thing probably 2 years ago now, or a year and a half ago now, and I just let it play. You know, there's so many different comedians from so many different places on there, and obviously if I didn't speak the language, I wasn't necessarily watching that one as closely, but I did enjoy, because I had no idea what's going on.
You know, read subtitles.
Not while I'm working.
Who's dyslexic now yet? Fuckhead.
The Mae Martin one stood out to me. I mean, I have been ruined. Wow. I've been destroyed by it. Wow.
I watch everything with subtitles. I have to.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is. I'm deaf. I'm a little bit deaf.
Oh.
Yeah. I've always had problems with my ears, and then I get them checked and tell me it's fine, but it's just like I can't hear things.
So she had a half-hour special 2 years ago, and I remember it standing out because her life seems a bit
because
mental.
You've got the same Bette Midler fetish fantasy. Don't pretend like you don't.
Suggested that Brian and Kevin have a look at it, just because you could kind of get everything that happens in the two series of the show from that half-hour special. I don't know if one led to the other. Brian, you watched the half hour. What did you think of it?
It's like a 30-minute talk. It's a pretty weak stand-up set.
God, we don't maybe don't say that. These are 2 hour talks, sometimes an hour and a half talks. We're guilty of the same thing.
Yeah, but it's supposed to be a stand-up set. Like, given that, like, I had to put it on 3 times because it wasn't sinking in at all. And from what I gathered, she's been doing, she's still pretty young, but she's been doing stand-up from quite a young age. And her craft isn't that tight, given that there's so many great people out there that have been doing it from a young age. And you kind of know that a lot of what they do is because they were doing it from a young age. And I thought it was pretty amateur.
Ooh. I won't label it amateur. I watched it again and I went, I didn't laugh much, but I found her story interesting.
I've seen stand up live a few times, and I think it's rare to get a set that isn't where they're trying new material or isn't where they're just doing the stuff they know that works. It's rare to get it when it's at that kind of high level where you haven't heard the jokes yet, but it's pretty tight. So I'm pretty critical of a lot of stand-up anyway. For stuff then that is in a recorded special, I'm just used to it being a lot less loose and tighter. There's a lot of stuff, I've talked about this with like my brother before, where so much of stand-up is just saying it in a particular tone of voice so people know that that's a joke there, and then giving them the time to laugh without ever actually saying anything funny. It's literally just the cadence, the rhythm, and then the pause that most people who've paid to see a show, even if they haven't paid to see a show, they're just there, they know what they're in for. And people laugh to let you know that they understood something. And it's a fake laugh. That's not to say that it's a fake laugh in that it doesn't mean that it's disingenuous or not kind of... It's like, I get that and I liked it, but it's not a genuine laugh. And that's not a criticism. That's a kind of a science. People have a kind of a fake laugh to let you know that, oh, I understood that. Or whatever.
I'm with you.
And a lot of the laughs,
this encounter.
Yeah, a lot of the laughs that people do are because they're just communicating that, oh, I understand there was a joke there, and I understand this pause is for me to fill it with the sound. And that's not just her set. That's a lot of stand-up comedy, with the exception of like you know, Michelle Wolf and Dave Chappelle, who've been the kind of biggest names I've seen live, I guess, you know. But everybody else that I've ever seen, it's kind of this thing where it's just like, here's the setup, here's the rhythm, here's the cadence, and here's where you laugh and people laugh. And that's what a lot of the set felt like. It just kind of felt like a person telling a story for 30 minutes. Likeable, but not particularly...
We're very, very critical people, right?
Yeah.
Whether or not we're informed and correct in our criticisms, whether or not we're just smug arseholes, whatever. I'm just leaving all that room for any listener that wants to call us assholes. We're very critical of the stuff we're watching, and especially comedy. We've watched a whole slew of comedy specials and gone to live stand-up and this, that, and the other. And the best stuff is so honed before it ever gets in front of a camera.
Like I'll say this: most of the stuff I've seen live, I don't like. I would say 99%. And I guess watching this, I kind of expected a kind of a tightly crafted special where it was actually more like a 30-minute set that they would do on a normal night, as opposed to being... I'm well aware that the stuff we see that's an hour long is like super tightly constructed after a year on the road, you know, so it's not fair to compare it in that way. I guess I should have watched it more in the mind of, this is me going to a club and seeing this person for the first time. So I've been a bit harsh.
But I don't think you have either, because this show, Comedians of the World, I don't know if this is the actual intent of this show on Netflix, but they're half-hour specials for comedians that a lot of us haven't heard of in the same global sense that we've seen elsewhere. It really does feel like a proving ground for personalities that then get grown out, especially the of the world concept, because I've seen Amazon doing this as well, where they do a laugh out loud or last one laughing is a sort of reality show for comedians, and you can see that on Amazon. But you see Last One Laughing Australia, Last One Laughing New Zealand, Last One Laughing Spain, Last One Laughing England, Last One Laughing... Like, Amazon just franchised this really simple concept for a reality show and just did it fucking everywhere. And at the end of it, you've got a cream of a crop of talent to develop TV or develop shows with. And I do think that's what this Comedians of the World thing is for. But I guess part of why I suggested you have a look at it is because I was going to talk about the show, and really everything that happens over 2 seasons is touched on in that half-hour special. She was a privileged, kind of sheltered little nerdy kid in Canada who had an obsessive kind of personality, who got into comedy very young, got introduced to drugs, went off the rails and into rehab very, very young, got into weird and abusive relationships with people twice her age, and like gay relationships with people that were still closeted. You know, 2 years I think she said she lived with somebody who wouldn't
are we misgendering them as well also?
The
I know on the show now they identify as non-binary, but I think we're talking about it kind of
the stand-up.
Yeah.
I know
now I do believe now they are
identify as non-binary.
Yeah, so we should probably check ourselves. Yeah, I think at the time of the episode, I don't think they necessarily
identified a certain way, but now they do. So it's just
I've kind of caught myself there. So.
Yeah, well, no, but that's fine. That's the whole point of it, dude. You know, like realistically, like you're cancelled, and I'm sorry about that, but it's
we're shadow banned. We've decided we've been shadow banned, and that's why.
And if you watch Feel Good, Mae Martin does go through that arc over the 2 seasons where they deal with their pronouns and how they want to identify, and it does arrive at a sort of non-binary position. The show is good. I like Mae Martin. I like the energy and bug-eyed stare. I do find it very funny. If I was to watch this thing one episode a week, I wouldn't stick with it. But it's one of those Channel 4 type of shows or British sort of sitcoms where there's 20-minute episodes, 6 episodes. If you kind of just binge it all, it's a good fun ride. Mm-hmm. Lisa Kudrow's in it as well. Charlotte Ritchie. It's a good cast. It's a fun show. For you, Kev, like I would say, throw it on while you're working. That sort of scenario. You know, just while you're drawing away. on your couch. That's what I did. It does boil down to you can get the whole story in that 30-minute special, but it's a good show, well made, and it's worth a watch.
Yeah, I'll check it out for sure.
Where I'm boiling down.
Is Bette Midler in season 2?
Bette Midler doesn't. Well, they do make mention of the Bette Midler memorabilia in her childhood bedroom at one point.
But the fantasy doesn't come true.
Is this a sitcom?
Okay.
What would you call it?
Or is it like Seinfeld,
sitcom?
where it's mixed with stand up?
It's a single camera dramedy.
Is it like
around a stand up club?
Okay. Oh, okay, fair, cool. I'll watch it.
Anyway, that's Feel Good and Mae Martin. I enjoyed it.
I'm watching a TV show at the moment on Amazon. It's presented by Bear Grylls, but it's basically the world's toughest race eco challenge in Fiji.
Is that the title of it?
Yeah, and
the world's toughest race.
Yes, and it's like it's insane. It's absolutely insane. 60 teams of kind of obviously experienced sort of world's best. People who've done like 50 Ironman and Ironman challenges or whatever it is, and all that kind of stuff. And teams of 4, and they're all going through this like horrific bloody fucking race. It's just brutal. There's rafting, there's swimming, there's cycling, there's like obviously walking, but it's like walk 58 kilometers to this place, raft for 72 kilometers through river rapids or whatever. They go on like 2 or 3 hours sleep every like 2 or 3 days. It's just,
I do that every day. It's not a big deal.
Brutal. Walking to the fucking hill, Brian, with the dog after not sleeping properly isn't the same thing.
It's the same thing.
So is it like The Amazing Race, where if you don't make a checkpoint by the end of the episode, you're eliminated and the teams whittle down over time?
Yes, I've not seen that, but it's exactly like that.
Okay.
But it's just phenomenal. Like we're like maybe say 1 or 2 episodes in, or 2 episodes, 3 episodes in. New Zealand, they're all older people. And they're just phenomenal what they do, one guy, there's a group of guys called the Stray Dogs, and they're kind of coming last at the moment, but they're also like kind of, the youngest might be like 63 or 64 or something. They're like they're in their late 60s, and they would normally kind of do the race with one of their friends, but one of their friends can't do it because he has Alzheimer's. But he's doing the race with his son because he has Alzheimer's, and it's kind of the last chance he'll ever get to do something like this with his son. And it's just incredible, like as like, you're talking about guys in there who are like, even the New Zealand, the people on the New Zealand team and stuff, but it's just older people doing this stuff. And it's just like, I'm 33 and I couldn't even do this now. Like,
so
I couldn't even,
hold on.
I struggle to walk around Hoth or something.
Can you, the lockdown has not been good to me. I walked down to Leary, walked back up, and I'm huffing.
Yeah.
Explain the format to me here again, right? Did you say there's 60 teams?
I think there's something like 60 teams.
60 teams. So is it broken into, like, heats? Like, are there 10 teams in New Zealand whittling down to 10 teams? Like, how do they get from... Is everybody in New Zealand?
They have cut-off points, so you have to get like kind of, you might have to get to checkpoint 3 by 4 o'clock, and if you don't, you're out. That kind of way. That's the only thing, because sometimes people are literally like rafting, doing the whole like say circle of the island, coming back to the raft and going to the next island, when other people are just arriving at the island.
Is each episode self-contained?
No. So like it's focusing on these teams as to progress through this race. Obviously, as teams whittle down, focus will kind of switch to other teams, if you get me. But at the moment, these shows are always the same. They always focus on certain people, certain elements, and then like that kind of changes as the show carries on, because people come more to the forefront, But it's really it's crazy stuff, like. But like, I don't know how the fuck they do it, honestly. Like, some of them, like I don't know how to do it. They want to stay for days, And then like they're just constantly moving. One guy was over
reality TV.
No, but I think this is more of a case of this is the race going on, and then these guys are filming it, but I'm not too sure. Because these guys have done these people have done these races Like some of them would have done them like 93 and 95 and 96. This is a thing that they do.
You should watch the Barkley Marathon.
That's a documentary, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I've heard
That's
of that.
bonkers. Supposedly one of the toughest ultramarathons there is. When I heard about it when I was watching the documentary, I was like, that doesn't sound that hard. Sounds like a regular old marathon. It's not especially secretive, but it's not particularly well publicized. To enter, it's something like, I think it's something like $10 to enter, and you have to send a shirt and like a license plate from your state or something like that. And I think it's like 5 laps around a park in Tennessee or something. But effectively, the first 3 you do in kind of one direction, and then the last 2 you kind of flip directions, and then you flip back, and you have to collect a page from a book at each checkpoint. So each time you come around, you have to have like these pages from the book so that they know you've gone the whole route. And it doesn't really sound that hard when you kind of like know about ultra marathons and what people do. But there are people who do ultra marathons that do this and can't complete it, and it's insane.
Is it the terrain or is it the complexity of the
terrain.
path? Yeah,
it's largely the terrain. It's cold. It's cold. You got to do it within 60 hours. So it's 100 miles. You got to do 100 miles in 60 hours. But again, like considering that people do ultramarathons in the Sahara, you'd kind of go, if somebody's done the Sahara, then surely they can do this thing. And they can't, is the thing. It's crazy.
I remember seeing, I think the race is called Tough Guy. It was before Tough Mudder took off, as a sort of branded thing. But there was this guy that ran this race in a field in the UK somewhere. I remember thinking about doing it one time, but they broadcast it. And it was like, we watched the guy who was in the lead. Now, he was just crazy good distance runner. He got way out ahead from the very beginning. Like, the guy was just very, very fucking good. But he was one of these distance runners that was like low body weight, low body fat, like a stick of a man. And just near the end of it, maybe 5 kilometers left or even less, like maybe like a kilometer left, he had been wading through water for so long at that point and was so cold, he got out and just kind of started walking in circles, like just did not know where he was. And you were watching this kind of like tortoise and the hare scenario where this guy was set up to win and then just started going kind of the wrong direction because he was in a kind of hypothermic daze. And like eventually he just locked back in and finished the race, but like it was mad to watch the toll that sort of thing can take on you.
If you were running one of those races, say, right, and you were coming second, but like the person who was coming first was way ahead of you, but by the time you were kind of coming towards the finish line, they were falling, they were like legs were going to jelly and blah blah. Would you help them up and finish the race with them, or would you just run past them and come first?
I think I would help them. We've seen enough videos of the sort of spirit of this sort of distance race where a leader is going to shit. Now, if he's just puffed out and kind of walking, I'm running straight past him. But if he's trying his fucking best to scramble forward, then yeah, I'm doing the
falling and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
there's other people to help him with that, though.
Yeah, I would. I'd leave him I'd leave him or her because, to be fair, right, like your approach was different than their approach. If their approach was the same as yours, they potentially would be in a situation. Or you put more.
I've seen enough videos of the help the guy over the line thing where I'd feel like a complete asshole if I didn't.
They're weak. They're weak people. Yeah, no, you're not. You're not an asshole. You shouldn't feel like an asshole. You feel like you're a weak person. Number one, doesn't fucking give it away for anything.
I'm helping him to the finish line and I'm stepping over it and marginally ahead of him.
Nah, it's a loser thing to do.
I could walk 160 kilometers in 60 hours, though. This is the thing. These people run this race.
I'd run it. I'd run back.
This is what I'm saying. Is like this must be This must be even harder than we suspect because,
No, I couldn't.
like I said,
I could have run 2 kilometers.
that's what I'm saying. Like I've never run 10K in my life, but I could easily walk 160 kilometers in 60 hours. No problem.
You could, yeah. 'Cause
No problem.
you
That's what
walk
I'm saying. Like
everywhere.
these people run this race.
You could walk 160 kilometers in 60 hours.
Definitely.
What's that?
I
per
don't
hour?
know.
Let's
I
do
don't
the
know.
maths.
3.
But I could do it.
160.
I've walked 30 kilometers in
2.5 kilometers an hour?
easily. I could do that.
See, not stupid. You could what 2 kilometers an hour, Brian? Is that what Aidan just said?
2.6.
That's like from here to where I work.
2 kilometers an hour. I mean, people run 10Ks in an hour.
Yeah, people do like you'd walk about.
So
walk,
people run 10Ks in 45 minutes.
I walk 2 kilometers in like.
This is what I'm saying: is people run this race. There's a 60-hour time limit, and people can't finish it.
But it must be brutal.
You're not talking about, like, we're thinking about walking. This is a very different path for this podcast. We're talking about walking, stepping out your front door and walking down the road.
No,
you're not talking about uphill, down dale, and knee high mud.
I go uphill and downhill all day.
God,
Do you do it in knee high mud and freezing water?
Who
Cork
said anything
floods.
about freezing water?
also Cork floods.
These distance races tend to be crazy terrain, right? Especially if it's
Bit of bramble.
Bit of bramble. To be
Just
fair,
don't wear shorts.
I've been with Brian in Cork, and my God, he just walks everywhere, and it's not cute.
I am a slow walker. It doesn't
not
appear.
cute. Oh,
I ran hell and back a few years ago
fair play to you.
with somebody who had never done a distance run before, and he tried to prepare for the cold by wearing 2 pairs of trackies, and the first thing they do is run you through a fucking pond. So in the first 100 meters he had 2 pairs of cotton tracksuit bottoms that were sopping wet hanging off him.
Man, not good. You have to also expect your body heat is going to go up anyways. You know what I mean? You don't want to overheat either. But
It's not good.
Not good.
So the show is toughest
Ooh,
race, New Zealand.
No,
World's
Fiji.
toughest race.
Yeah,
World's
Fiji.
toughest race. What was it called?
World's toughest raced Eco Challenge Fiji. Eco Challenge, I think, is a real thing, and they're basically filming it.
Okay. Check it out. Check out the Barkley Marathons. That's a documentary that's been around for 5 years, maybe.
Yeah,
at this
it
point.
was on Netflix.
It sounds interesting.
I'm not sure where it is now, but it is definitely worth the watch. Look, like I said, I heard about this
It's
and
not
I
that
watched this
impressive.
going, how
Brian
can
do it? Yeah.
Obviously, it's ridiculously hard. But when I first heard about it, I was like, how can this be that hard? And then, I'm just looking at it now. I think only the full 5-loop race has been completed 18 times by 15 runners as of 2021. This thing started in the 80s, I think, and it's only 15 people have completed it.
What is the distance?
It's 100 miles, thereabouts. But it's the terrain
True
and
brambles like.
True bramble, though.
brambles.
Like that's the thing you're forgetting. Bit
Don't
of
wish
bramble.
it.
Like.
Yeah. Fair play to people.
Look,
really do it,
I
but
got lost coming down a mountain, right? And that shit was tough.
I got lost in Fairview.
There was no trail there. These people are running on a trail.
I have no
Come
sense
on.
of direction, so I could.
I got turned around in Arnott's one time and I couldn't find the way back out.
That's very easily done. It's split level all over the shop. Come on.
Yeah, Arnott's is confusing.
Yeah, I mean you can get up to the toilets, no problem.
Let's do an ultra marathon in Arnott's.
Arnott's makes me feel uncomfortable because
The Arnie marathons.
it kind of exasperates my
It's a liminal space.
lack of direction.
Mm-hmm.
Boycott.
You're
You know,
dyspraxia, and
When you're trying to
dyslexia.
find your way out to Wigwam, but you end up looking at the Jervis Centre, it's like, I got turned around again.
Well, like, I'm useless. I'm really bad. I got lost in Fairview and I went for like a 20-minute walk. I completely turned around, and then when we came out and realized where I was so shocked. I felt like we were just walking straight for 20 minutes, but we did an entire loop. I have no sense of direction. It's awful.
Hell, we got lost in the conversation. Loki. Did y'all watch Loki this week?
I did, child. I did.
I most certainly did.
Yeah, yes.
We're doing accents now for the next 10 minutes, me and Kev.
Yep.
Accents. And we're going to change. It's going to be so inconsistent.
Yeah.
So,
don't
buckle
love.
up.
We're already cancelled anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Shadowband.
Shadowband, yes.
Not yet cancelled.
Not like cancelled, Shadowband. Well,
That should be the name of the
you
podcast.
did say that
Not yet cancelled.
Loki's good. Do we like this episode of Loki?
I did, yeah. I went and got a good screen grab of that cityscape that people, that Brian especially was saying looked great, and I hadn't looked at.
Well, I didn't say it looked great. I just said, I think maybe.
Was impressive, right?
No.
No?
No, you said the line. You were saying the show didn't sell the line for you, and I was saying I get what they were referring to. I thought you were saying that, why is he so impressed because he's been to Nidavellir and all these places, and I was saying, yeah, but it's so much more vast and without magic. It's not that I found it impressive myself, it's just it's not the same as those spaces, I think.
Okay. I went and I did have a look at it, and there's definitely depth in the geometry and what they've built into that space. I think what I needed was like a slower reveal and pull back from it to get a sense of the size of it, rather than just it
it's
kind of
just out
just
the
goes
window.
like bang,
Yeah.
and it's like, if he had been walking down the street that slowly pulled up and pulled back and pulled back and pulled back, and we see how huge it is, get a sense of the depth of it.
The depth, what, the TVA, is it?
Yeah, the world that they're in. I was talking to somebody who was suggesting perhaps there was a degree of procedural generation to create that geometry. I don't know. That would be interesting if they're if visual effects artists have reached a point where they're procedurally generating cityscapes in a
Oh, they definitely are, I would say.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I'd love to see a VFX breakdown about that, where it's sort of there's a maybe a library of a language of what a building looks like, cornices, windows, that sort of thing, and then they just set it to replicate, and it creates variety in world and builds a city.
Uses
almost in an
maths
automated
to
fashion.
draw it instead of somebody doing it by hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
So sort of self-perpetuating landscape. But the episode itself, episode 2, we're into Loki starting to hunt the other variant.
I like the clock. It's beautiful.
Miss Minutes.
Yeah.
I was kind of happy to see that was back. It was
Yeah.
I didn't think it would be anything more than the cartoon thing.
That's there to stay.
Yeah, I think it's great. I love some of the stuff.
You
that
don't get
Marvel-
Tara Strong just for 2 episodes.
This is true. I think it's great that Marvel do this stuff. You know what I mean? It's just fuck it, do it. Why not? It's a fun idea.
Somebody was looking at so they sent out a lot of merch to a whole bunch of different peoples. I saw some of it online
Not
in
us.
various places. We're fine with that. We love you, Marvel, just the way you are. We don't need anything from you.
I need stuff from Marvel.
Yeah, send me stuff. Send Aiden nothing.
Thirsty
He's
motherfuckers.
undeserving of your love. But I would like some love, please.
Well, the clock... Miss Minutes' face is broken up into 16 subdivisions, which is that's not an unusual breakdown for clocks. I guess they work day or a 34-hour day in
Time is irrelevant.
the
Time is
TVA.
octal.
Time is shadow band.
Octal time.
Octal time is shadow band.
The episode opens with a squad of Minutemen getting taken out at a Ren fair. Is it I Need a Hero? Holding out for a hero. Is that Bonnie Tyler?
Mm-hmm.
How kind of annoyed do you think the sound mixer or the editor or the director was when the Masters of the Universe trailer came out a week before them? It was just mother.
Wasn't it in the
fuckers.
Guardians of the Galaxy trailer as well? The game.
The video game?
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
Is it?
It was, yeah, yeah.
It's having a moment.
Are they doing the fucking sound mix?
It's in the
The same
zeitgeist.
studio or something? The Loki episode opens with the assault on the Minutemen. Loki takes a hostage for the first time, or the Loki variant takes a hostage, and the time reset charges again. We then meet Loki, who is now almost like a trainee caseworker in the TVA. He gets given his own little uniform, and goes off to see where the assault happened. He then gets to read up about the actions of the Loki variants and determines that to hide in the timeline and not be visible to the TVA, that they must be hiding in apocalyptic scenarios where whatever they do wouldn't have an effect anyway because everybody there would be eliminated. That allows them to chase Loki to a hurricane that's going to wipe a building off the face of the earth, so they go to that building. A little bit of argy-bargy ensues. Loki fights Loki, and then the two Lokis run away through a Rick and Morty style portal.
Right before that, Loki bombs the timeline also.
And that's going to be an interesting thing. Curious to see what the repercussions are of that. I really enjoyed the episode. Hiddleston's having fun.
God, I literally just watched the last 10 minutes before we got on here. Did Loki go through the portal, abandoning the TVA?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so he sided with the other Loki.
I don't think
We
he
don't know
sided
that.
with
Yeah,
them.
but he's more interested in it, basically.
He's going to see what's up.
Yeah. I think he is enamored with the concept of the TVA as a more superior power than him or anything he's dealt with to that point. So I think he saw an opportunity to chase up the mission. Why let the person you're chasing go? I'm sure they'll find him as a variant. All he has to do is cause a little bit of time variation, and the TVA will come and find him, you know?
True, yeah. This is six episodes, right?
Yeah.
And we're 2 episodes in. I mean, it's I love it so far. Like it's good fun. Tom Hiddleston's great. Owen Wilson's great. I'm really looking forward to seeing the Loki variant and what she gets up to. You know, she looked great. Really, really cool.
I saw people guessing that perhaps that's not Loki, it's the Enchantress, and that is only down to the concept of she's blonde.
No, and the name is Sylvie.
The name is Sylvie. Where have we got a name?
So in the file that they're looking at one point, the name is Sylvie Laufey's daughter instead of Loki Laufey's son. And then I think it's in the Spanish credits at the end for the voice actress. In all the other credits, the character is listed as the variant, but I think in the Spanish one, they're credited as Sylvie. And Sylvie is the name of one of the enchantresses, the one created by Loki. So that's where it's coming from.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, okay. Then that suddenly lends a little more.
I mean, either way,
substance to it. I don't know how I feel about that though, because like, I liked them just following the sort of, you know, Lady Loki variant, the gender fluidity of the character that is present in the comic books, is present in Norse mythology.
But maybe
it seems like
sorry, I was just gonna say maybe it's a case of like that variant is actually Loki, but when she comes to Loki's timeline, for example, because say if it ends and she's actually in the MCU timeline, she's not going to want to go by like Lady Loki or Loki. She's going to be like, no,
the MCU version of Enchantress might be
Lady Loki.
Lady Loki. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you see when Loki was at the desk, like reading the Jet Ski magazine and talking to Miss Minutes? There's like a quiz on the monitor beside him.
No.
You see that? I can't remember what it is, but it's something like it's like a time paradox continuity quiz, and it's something like if Thanos has no apples and he wants an apple and he goes in time to get an apple, like what of these 3 outcomes would happen? But it's a fun Easter egg that they took the time to. But it's funny that they used Thanos for the purpose of a maths problem, but like a time maths problem. Yeah. It's funny.
It's funny to me that watching these shows, the audience is crawling over them for hints and clues and Easter eggs, and
I
guess they layer a lot of, like, to the point that somebody said 16th of June in an American calendar as opposed to
616.
616. So Earth 616, the Marvel Cinematic Universe continuity. It touches on the multiverse stuff. That's, I mean, in many ways, yeah, that's literally 616. But did they do that on purpose?
They definitely didn't plan that.
Yeah, there's.
So it's just a
Because they
coincidence.
moved these premieres to a Wednesday.
But it's fun though.
Only recently. It's fun.
Maybe they
so
did
weird
though.
that the audience is just playing this ludicrous.
Maybe
fucking
that's why they
scavenger
moved it to
hunt.
Wednesdays. Like, why else move it to Wednesdays though? I don't know.
Wait, what? What? Because if they move it to Wednesdays, it's what?
That episode would have arrived on
Oh, I get you.
616. June 16th.
As the multiverse.
Oh wow, that's
breaks
very,
apart.
Yeah, I don't know if they're that. If these people, even though they're Porter Harrison souls in these projects, if they're even that invested, I think like fans enjoy their stuff and let them run with it and stuff. But I just don't think these people are actually that invested.
These people. It is their job. Like, I mean, you know.
So, did you take note of any of the timeline points that started to diverge?
Yes.
What have you got in your list there, or what were they?
Everything. Vormir, Nilfheim, like everything.
Yeah, all of the points that they said were affected by a reset bomb. Like Vormir is where the Soul Stone was, right?
I do believe that they showed in the trailer that it shows Loki sitting next to Lady Loki and they're having a chat, and I wonder, is that where she's headed in the portal, and that they're going to have a chat in Vormir next? Kind of maybe explain their motives. Maybe.
What's Vormir?
Vormir's where the Soul Stone was, where Natasha died.
Where the Red Skulls.
Okay, yeah. How do you remember this stuff? My God.
Is that going to set Red Skull free if they bombed something in
Or Black Widow free.
Vormir?
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Black Widow. Actually, speaking of Black Widow, I read an article. Article was a loose term. It was something.
I glanced at a tweet.
I glanced at. I did read it, but it was.
I did a double take on a listicle.
It was on a lad Bible, but which is what they call it, journalism at its finest. And there was just Scarlett Johansson was basically saying how the Black Widow could be brought back, or the Red Skull of Black Widow.
Yeah, I don't want them to bring back Black Widow. I think what they're doing in the movie is a perfect setup for Florence Pugh to take over the role. Because Scarlett's been doing it for a decade at this point. She has been underserved. She should have had a film a long time ago. They could have done a lot more with the character. Famously, Whedon kind of very two-dimensionalized the value of her as a person. But, you know, we are where we are in the narrative. The character sacrificed herself for the sake of the universe. I think if you just start undoing that sort of shit left, right, and center, I think I like repercussions. If they want to make Black Widow movies, they have her entire existence as a spy for the last 25 to 30 years to play with, you know, back when she was 10.
But how is it going to connect to the rest of the MCU then, Aidan?
But it doesn't have to, Brian.
Of course it does.
Not done.
That's what the fans want.
She could have a run-in with Omega Red, and then Omega Red could just show up in another movie somewhere. Also,
you can make a whole Black Widow series that takes place in the mid-early 2000s or the 5-year gap, and it's great fun. But then
how's that going to set
Endgame.
up the next movies?
or if there's a multiverse, you could just have like a.
It's got to set up the next movies all of the time, every time.
So
Because people won't go see it.
there was a. Cast,
Do we like Marvel?
There was
Go on.
a casting that speculated that they had casted Namor for Black Panther 2. Wasn't it?
Namor?
Yeah. Namor, I say Namor. Namor.
You say Namor. It is definitely one of those words, like, I when I read it, I was like, the Submariner!
The Submariner.
Yeah. It's
would
one of
say-
those
I would
words that
say-
you read the first time and you say it one way or the other.
Oh yeah, it's like Keys Quays. What's on the Quays? As a country person, you're not necessarily aware that it's pronounced Keys over Quays when you come up for here first. You know, it's a common mistake we make. But that's
I'm
fine.
just trying to realize. I'm trying to work out which Quays you're talking about.
Quays, as in the Keys.
Oh, like in the city by the river, like
Yeah,
where Forbidden Planet is,
yeah,
and Games Workshop,
yeah.
and other nerd things.
You know, the keys.
The keys.
Yeah. Okay.
The quiz.
So they're talking about setting up a Namor, but who is that? Just supposition? Like, did they just somebody got cast in the movie and they're trying to guess who the character they're playing is?
They cast a villain.
They cast a villain, and people had thought it was Namor the Submariner, but obviously my heart is with Luke, and I hope he gets that role. Luke Evans.
For the listener, there is also supposition that role could be played by Luke Evans. There's a little bit of concept art for that. We'll probably put it on an Instagram story just so people can say it, and so that Kev can say how much he loves. What's his name again?
Luke Evans.
Luke Evans.
He'd be great as a Submariner. He literally has the same face as him. Like, he has the eyebrows.
Have we covered Loki?
Not really.
Barely.
Sasha Jones, I think it is. She's the soldier who gets taken by Loki and like, you know, tells him everything. She was in Hellboy. She was in the Hellboy with David Harbour.
She was also in the American remake of the Channel 4 show Utopia, where she played the Jessica Hyde part. And in the original, the Jessica Hyde part was played by the Irish actress Fiona O'Shaughnessy. The little brain connection my brain made there. And also the scientist in Sweet Tooth played a character in Utopia also. Because I was watching it going, pretty sure he was in Utopia, you know, the American show Utopia. And then I looked up and it wasn't him. I was like, I could have sworn he was in Utopia. But then it turns out the part I was thinking of, he played the part in the British version, in the original. So yeah, there. Fiona O'Shaughnessy is great in Utopia.
Well, we can cut all that out and don't worry about it.
She should.
What
do you mean cut all that out? That was gold. What the fuck are you talking about? The human IMDb over here. Come on.
Who played Lady Loki then? Can we call her Lady Loki? Or we just
Sophia Di Martino.
And
who looks a bit like Fiona O'Shaughnessy, weirdly enough.
Where we've seen her before?
I don't know.
Okay.
Error. Not found.
IMDb's not great. But I assume that Sasha is going to be in it more, maybe, because I think like she's kind of a, you know, that's
the weird thing. Like she played, so the role of Jessica Hyde in Utopia is pretty major, and she played her in the Utopia remake, which is on Amazon. I can't remember if that got 1 or 2 seasons, but it's a pretty big part, and she's playing that part in the remake. So it seems like a small part then for her to be playing. Maybe she got it before the other two. I don't know. Seems odd.
I'm not too sure. It says basically
because she's not even named, is she? She's a number, like she's CV20 or something, isn't it?
Well, like the hunters only have names because like the other hunter B15 is a pretty major part, and the name is just B15.
She's going to be in 2 episodes, so basically we'll see. But no, because it's just you know when you're kind of watching it, and then like kind of people come on screen and you recognize them and they've been in something, so you kind of feel like they're probably a higher tier character to a degree. Because I watched that.
Just realizing that she also looks and sounds like the actress who played Carrie Morgenthau, but not a redhead. But they've similar faces, I think.
In Falcon and Winter Soldier.
In Falcon and Winter Soldier, yeah. They look alike. Different hair, but
leader of the Flag Smashers.
Yeah, they look like they're both British as well.
Yeah. There is a likeness, all right. Yeah.
Is Mobius a clone? Is there loads of Mobiuses? Is that what the M in his name stands for? That there's an alphabet of Mobiuses, and there's like Mobius A, Mobius B, Mobius C, Mobius.
But there would be one there if there's variants of everything else.
I mean, in the TVA, because at one point he says, you've got another analyst at work there for you. And is it because there's loads of
Mobiuses?
He's
like their best agent, and they just replicate him.
At which point he's their only agent.
True.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a huge amount to talk about
in this episode.
on this episode. Yeah,
Pompeii thing was cool.
Well, there's the bottle rocket reference, which nobody else
What the
seemed
hell
to
is the
get.
bottle rocket reference?
I'm sure he's referenced it in a couple of movies since, but in Bottle Rocket, he's like, oh, give a signal, and he makes a signal with like a bird noise. It's like, caw or something like that. And he's referenced it in other films since. And then when they were in Pompeii, he says, okay, wait over here and, kind of do a few things and maybe make
noise.
like a sound like a bird noise or something. And nobody else fucking mentioned it yet until now.
Well, that's why you come to the endless stream.
So there's the bottle rocket. There's the 7 reference when he's looking at the files. So in 7, when Freeman's character goes to the library and he's looking at all the Dante's Inferno stuff, and Brad Pitt is doing similar stuff from his apartment, and they're playing Bach, I believe, in the scene. And then when Loki is looking at all the files, they're playing the same piece of music. So he's sitting at the desk, which looks very much like a library, and they played the same piece of music as 7. Are they setting up a Young Avengers? Because they've introduced Lady Loki, so it's kind of like they're going to do Kid Loki too, right? So so far we've got Kate Bishop, we've got Cassie Lang, we've got Wiccan and Speed, and we've got Patriot in Falcon and Winter Soldier. So there's supposedly Marvel have like 4 or 5 big unannounced movies that they know are happening. They know a lot about them that they haven't revealed to the public yet. It seems like they are definitely setting up a Young Avengers.
Young Avengers!
Kate Bishop, Cassie Lang, Wiccan and Speed, Patriot, maybe a Kid Loki.
Potentially, actually, no.
Well, is a Kid Loki based on anything? Like, or is that just a reach now that we have the idea that Lokis can be varied?
Loki's a very popular character. He has great dynamic to,
There's a Kid Loki in the
whatever.
comics that comes about in a way that it seems like the show might be setting up.
Okay.
So I think that seems very likely.
Are you trying to suggest Loki and Loki?
It's a podcast. You have to say what you're doing.
Who do we think Richard E. Grant is playing?
They smash and then they give birth to Kid Loki. Be the ultimate Loki.
Oh, you're suggesting that the 2 Lokis get it on?
Yeah.
No.
Richard
Weird.
E. Grant. Is that the...
I mean, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is famous for its sex scenes, isn't it?
Yes. It can be implied, doesn't it? I don't have to see them. Richard E. Grant. Is that the older, sadder Notting Hill man?
I mean, Hugh Grant.
Hugh Grant. But Richard E.
No,
Grant
it's
is older and sadder.
Withnail from Withnail and I.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, he's an older, sadder version of Hugh Grant. Brian looks like the other guy from Whitney and I. The Eye.
Also, who do we think he's playing in Loki?
Who
Is he cast in
playing?
Loki? How do we
Probably-
know he's
yeah.
cast in Loki?
Probably one of the time people.
Huh?
They've announced it.
Are you scrolling through IMDb to see these things? When did they
No.
announce?
Brian's a human
They announced
IMBD.
this. They announced this stuff. Do you not read this stuff?
I don't read anything.
No. Where are you?
Not
where do you
by
get-
choice. By choice. I don't read anything by choice because I can read. It's by choice. By choice.
And I was thinking about this.
Kevin protesting a bit too much.
Give me something to read. I'll read it. Actually, don't do that.
They announced Brolin as Thanos in like 2014,
Yeah.
and then he appeared in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
And they've announced Kang last year.
Yeah.
And Quantumania isn't out until next year or the year after, possibly. So he's got to be showing up in this, right?
Do you think Richard E. Grant is going to be Kang?
No.
No.
Jonathan Majors, who is announced to be playing Kang, is going to be playing Kang. What I'm saying is, why did they announce him so soon when he's not set up to appear until Ant-Man and the Wasp? But they announced his casting ages ago. And Ant-Man and the Wasp only started filming like this week, I believe. So why did they announce his part, the casting, so soon? He's got to be showing up in this, I think.
Who?
Right?
Richard E. Grant.
Kang!
Kang. Oh, sorry.
But who's Richard E. Grant playing?
He's in 4 episodes, so he's obviously in it from. There's only 6 episodes, and he wasn't in the first 2. He must be coming into it. He must be one of the what they call it, the time lizards. Time
Or is it
dinosaurs.
Loki in the future?
Time
Or is
dinosaurs.
it Loki in the far future?
Well, he could be a different Loki.
He does have an old Loki vibe.
He looks like Tom Hiddleston. Yeah.
Yeah, like a kind of sadder Hugh Grant.
Well, I mean, I do think that Tom Hiddleston looks like a kind of happier Hugh Grant.
Has Kang already conquered all time? And is he running the TVA to keep the timeline under control because he's already ruling it? Like if there was no time travel rules as we know from like films and stuff, and if I invented a time machine, it doesn't matter if I find or discover a time machine like tomorrow or in 10 years, the moment I have it, then I always have it effectively, because there's nothing stopping me going backwards or forwards to change any aspect of my life. The second I come into possession of a time machine, then whatever I'm going to do with it, I've effectively already done. If you get me.
Yes.
Right? So if Kang is like the conqueror of time, has he not already done it? Is he already in charge of the TVA? And is that the discovery that we're going to make? Is that what Lady Loki is up to? That they've realized, you know, there's this dude running the show from behind the scenes, and I'm trying to put an end to him, and he's created this thing called the TVA just to kind of manage the timeline for him, because that's how he exercises his control over the timeline. That he's already doing it, basically. He's already there. Is that why they've cast Jonathan Majors already? Or we don't have to talk about it. Whatever. Fuck ye. I mean, you can just sit there. We can move on to the next thing. If I'm boring ye.
I don't know. I'm not familiar enough with Kang the Conqueror as a character and what his agenda is. Like, I remember reading Avengers comics, and he would pop up every so often and be trying to do something or other. But
He's all
like,
about time.
Doesn't matter
time
about the comics,
manipulation.
though. I just mean, like, where do we think the show is going with the character? What do you think we want to do next?
Wasn't he Ramat Tut or something in the?
Yeah.
Ramat Tut in the, like, was it Fantastic Four 19 or something? Was his first appearance technically? Even though he has actually a Kang the Conqueror first appearance. They must have just said it was Ramat Tut at one stage or another. But yeah, like in the comic books, like I remember reading one years ago, and Black Bolt was attacking Kang for whatever reasons, but Kang was in this fortress, but he had like archers from like, say, like Imperial Japan or something. He had like catapults from Rome. He had like, you know, dinosaurs or whatever. He had all these like people all from all different ages, the best, you know, soldiers from whatever time, and, you know, protecting his castle. But so he's time. If he's a big time guy, so why wouldn't he be involved in this?
Yeah.
Yeah, Richard E. Grant was Kang the Conqueror.
No, it's Jonathan Majors.
Who's Jonathan Majors?
He's been cast.
who's
Lovecraft
Jonathan Majors?
Country.
Yeah.
Lovecraft Country.
No.
Oh, I thought you said Richard E. Grant was Jonathan Majors, and I'm like, who's that character?
You saying Richard E. Grant to Jonathan Majors? Jonathan Majors is playing Kang the Conqueror. I don't know. Richard E. Grant, as far as I'm concerned, should play Kang the Conqueror. You know,
For the listeners, Brian just I
exited.
think he just rage quit. Headphones went off, door open.
yeah. To be honest, I wasn't listening to him, so that's fair enough.
He's just going on about Jonathan Majors, who's playing Kang the Conqueror, and
Who's-
how he might have an effect on the TVA. We're all aware of this.
Who's
Everyone's aware of this.
Jonathan Majors?
He was from Lovecraft Country. He's playing
Oh.
Kang the Conqueror.
Oh, okay. Brian should have said that.
I don't know why he didn't. It's just confusing us all with nonsense. And then Richard E. Grant, as you say, is in the next 4 episodes. Might be playing an older Loki. Yeah, I mean, look, let's just see where the next 4 episodes go. And that's what we think Kang the Conqueror will do.
Kang the Conqueror actor denies a Loki appearance, but he's a very good Kang the Conqueror. He has like the perfect face for it.
So were you not aware Jonathan Majors is an actor?
No, I thought he was a politician.
Right, okay.
That's John Major.
That's what I said. So
John Major's playing Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah. Well, no, Richard E. Grant is playing John Majors, who will be Kang the Conqueror.
The Loki episode we just watched, and like I know I'm going to find this when I listen back to this conversation. I don't know what we talked about there. Like a fairly fragmented kind of things. The broad review of it is we enjoyed it and we're looking forward to seeing where it goes, and everybody seems to be doing a good job. The production design's nice, the performances are good.
Yeah, it was a filler
there's
episode.
so much possibility.
I don't think it was really a filler episode. Like, I loved that image of the sign being smashed by like the wind and stuff like that. I thought that was just this amazing apocalyptic image. I love the idea of looking for effectively a serial killer in the end of time,
Yeah, but
in an apocalyptic setting. I don't think it was filler at all. I thought that was like just a brilliant idea and some great imagery, and like they're walking
But with
in
6
this kind of
episodes,
torrential
we're really
rain.
just at the end of Act 1, you know? So we're just kind of...
Yeah, but I don't think it was
warming into
filler though. I think there was great stuff in there.
Yeah, I
like I
think
said,
filler's probably the wrong way.
I love the idea of give me an entire show set where they're chasing killers in apocalypses. You know,
Yeah, it's
I thought it was some cool apocalyptic imagery. We haven't really seen apocalyptic imagery on that scale in the MCU despite the fact that half the universe was wiped out. I think the closest we've seen to something like that was Thanos, turning the moon into debris to throw at Iron Man.
I gotta watch this show on a
apocalyptic thing
bigger
we've seen.
screen.
It was a great image. Like it's good. I love the music as well. Actually, the music is superb. Lots of kind of theremin synthy stuff, and I love the mood of it.
Yeah, maybe filler episode was a bit strong in terms of a bit of a kind of like an underestimation of what the show was, but it definitely was one of those shows. I think that's kind of like, I don't know how to say it, but it's like foreshadows, or it was one of those shows that kind of like it's setting up a lot in terms of the universe, where people are, reveals, all that kind of stuff, and I think the next episodes will probably be more like, that's done all the groundwork, and on the next episodes can play with it more because we understand it. We have a better concept or better idea of the concept.
What screen are you watching these on, by the way?
iPad.
Ah, right. Watch it on a TV.
Yeah,
That's your homework for next week.
As I explained my situation, by the time I get to watch these things that we're watching, I'm invariably watching it on an iPad in the dark while my dad sleeps beside me.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm just watching over him, and like I could
You're
turn on the
sleeping with your
TV,
dad.
but it's just, I'm in the room where he sleeps until 1 a.m. until
You
somebody
don't have to
takes
explain
over.
that. That's fair enough. But
Somebody with him 24/7.
yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Did you watch MODOK?
I've tried watching it and I can't get into it.
Emer's not really digging it. I think it's I like it. It has high highs, low lows. Where it's kind of like, this isn't great. It's kind of real boring.
Not a huge Robot Chicken fan or that whole genre of humor.
I watched the last 2 episodes with the bureaucracy thing and the if Saturday night be for the boys. Like it's nice looking. The design of MODOK is cool, and it's cool that they've given MODOK a series. But I'm not really locking into this as a show. He as a character is just shouting random shite a lot of the time. Like, it's funny stuff, and it's a lot of deep cut Marvel jokes. It was fun seeing Mr. Sinister in that last episode.
I was just gonna say, yeah.
I
like it. I'll stick with it.
Like, Kang the Conqueror actually shows up in the opening of that first episode, doesn't he? Shows up in like a time traveling rocket sled thing.
He does
Like,
at some stage, yeah.
There's great stuff in it, but yeah, it's just hard to hold my focus on it.
Fair. Yeah, it's not going to be as much of a talking point than other shows have been.
We're getting close to Black Widow time. Saw that clip with her and Florence Pugh in the shop where she gives her shit about her like hero landing. Did you see that clip?
I have not watched anything, man. I'm not watching it until it comes out.
It is a funny moment when she goes, "Why do you always do this thing with your arm?" And she goes, "What are you talking about?" And she sort of gets down into the thing and like whips her hair back and goes, "You do this. You whip your hair back and your arm is up. Like, what is this? This is fighting stance?
Yeah.
You're such a poser."
No way.
It's kind of a fun moment where they're just like getting petrol and she just calls her out.
Yeah,
the
brilliant.
petrol
I'm looking forward to that movie a lot, to be fair.
Yeah, and it's getting good early reviews. I look forward to loading it onto the iPad.
Yeah. Maybe you can go to the cinema and watch it. Oh, yes.
Yeah, cinemas are opening up. I
They're open.
registered for my vaccine yesterday.
I was just like, oh yeah, I have to register for my vaccine.
Are you 35?
33.
Yeah, you're the next cohort.
Oh, I can't
Yeah,
register.
Yeah,
I
apparently he can register now, though. Apparently he could just like register now. He doesn't have to wait. Apparently he doesn't have to wait until he's supposed to register. Apparently, just register now.
I'm not too sure why Ryan's giving me hostility, but
I'm not giving you
that's
hostility.
directed at me. It's directed at me.
He wasn't supposed to register until tomorrow, Kev,
oh,
and he registered yesterday.
well, that's
He's going to get lost in the
that's
shuffle.
why
He's
he's
going to be
number one.
bouncing around.
Number one.
We'll be on our COVID-23 vaccines, and Aiden'll still be waiting on his first.
Lost in the shuffle. I mean,
First Moderna.
that's like his life.
Maybe it's an after this call thing, Kev. But like, go to the HSE site and put your year in, and see if it lets you through. Because I have a feeling it won't let you through, because you are definitely the next cohort after the 35 to 39s. But they are opening up the 35 to 39s this weekend, and I clicked through and it just let me in, and I just registered.
Okay.
But I have a feeling you won't get let to the registration process because you're not next up. Yeah, you can't do it because you're in the 30 to 35 group. I'm in the 35 to 39. They're just about to open that up. Even though it still says 40 to 69 there, it let me through. I feel like they're just going to do a text change on the website tonight or tomorrow night, and it'll be... You read some Moon Knight at last.
Oh no, I've read Moon Knight before.
We have no evidence of that. We tried desperately. We tried desperately to get any information out of you the last day. You and I both read Werewolf by Night issues. Yes. I think it's 38 and 39.
32 and 33.
And then it's Marvel Spotlight 38 and 39.
28 and 29.
Werewolf by Night, first introduction of Moon Knight. It jumps straight into a fight between the werewolf character and Moon Knight, and it's pretty cool. It's a good... This issue is available on the Marvel Unlimited app.
You can buy for €40, I think it is, in Subsidy. You can buy the essentially collected volumes of Moon Knight, and it starts off with those two issues of Werewolf by Night, followed by Marvel Spotlight, followed by, I think, Amazing Spider-Man, featuring Moon Knight and stuff, and it's all coloured. I have the book, but I have it in black and grey print on a newsprint from about 10 years ago. Longer ago. But you can buy a nice collected edition. It has the Marvel Spotlight 28 cover on it, that Moon Knight, but it's all coloured inside and it's really nice.
The Werewolf by Night issues were good. It was a nice introduction. It's a weird way to create a superhero. It starts with the two of them just fighting, and then we kind of get a flashback of Moon Knight being like brought in for a job interview as a mercenary and handed a costume and told to go and fight a werewolf.
Yeah, and then they make fun of him for wearing the costume.
They do. It's
like, wow, you're really stuck in with that costume, aren't you? And it's just like, these are the clothes you gave me. And also, he says, like, you know, we want you to bring in this werewolf, like, alive or whatever. And it's just kind of like, okay, like, what's your price? He man's like $10,000. And he's like, I'll do it. He has a helicopter, a pilot.
Yeah.
What does he need 10 grand for?
10 grand does seem low to fight a werewolf.
To fight and apprehend a werewolf and bring it in.
Yeah.
With
the new set of kit that you've never used before.
Yeah. Like I'm talking like fitty for a Bigfoot, and Bigfoot aren't even aggressive.
Yeah. But
werewolves,
I think
werewolves are more expensive.
I guess the takeaway from the issue is it's a weird origin story for a hero. You never get a look at him or his face.
Werewolf by Night
in that issue
is a weird book.
Did you read any more of it, or just the Moon Knight issues?
I would have read little bits here and there. I think I read Werewolf by Night with Brother Voodoo. Is it Brother Voodoo? Yeah, I think I read the Werewolf by Night with him. But I know Werewolf by Night is a weird book. Like, you know, the main character's name is Jack Russell.
That is very funny.
I don't think
it's so silly. Like, he's Jack Russell and he turns into a werewolf.
It's just You know when you read comic books from this era, because I would have read a lot of comic books from this era because they were used as filler for the Panini reprints and stuff, you know. But when you read comic books from this era, God, there's so much just repeating things every page, every issue. Every time the guy transforms, I'm going to transform into this werewolf and I can't control it, and it's this and it's that, and it's this constant eternal monologue that's so repetitive and cheesy. I love it and I hate it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's the kind of thing when you're first reading comics, you're like, this is comic books, and then at a certain point you're like, this is unnecessary text, can we just keep moving,
it's
please?
Convoluted. Oh God, I guess so. Sometimes you open up a page and it's just like, why
I don't have to read a single thing on this
texts?
page. Picture next. Like, there's
why?
nothing to. But it's a good intro for the character. There's some cool like 70s lingo in it that like there's good energy and movement through it.
They've retconned I think 90% of it though.
In the Spotlight stuff, or in the most recent stuff.
Not even the recent stuff. Like maybe in the 80s.
Okay.
90s, they retconned a lot of it because then he became like the guy who got his, powers from Koshnu, the god, and he was stronger. Oh, they do that? They do that in the Spotlight one, don't they? Where he's stronger with Moonlight. Yeah, because he's fighting the Conqueror Lord, and it's not a full moon. It's not even a half moon. And he's like, oh, that's going to affect my powers or something. I can't remember.
It's one of these things where there's just a very little bit of information about the character in the werewolf issues. And then you start reading the Marvel Spotlight stuff and they start trying to layer in this like he's millionaire Alan Grant, or is that the guy from Jurassic Park?
It's the guy from Jurassic Park. He is Samuel Grant, I want to say, or something.
But he's also a taxi driver.
Yeah, it's like this is the job for quick. And I love how it's just like basically one of them is played by a millionaire that kind of like lives the extravagant lifestyle, rubs shoulders with influential people, blah blah blah. And then the other one is this like kind of urban, streetwise taxi driver. But I love how it's just like this is the job for my taxi driver alias. Pull up the cab, and he's gonna go out and go to the streets and find out what's really going on. And he just goes to a diner and just straight up asks, hey, this Conqueror Lord guy, huh? He's gonna rob a bank, is he? And then the woman's just like, I wouldn't know anything about that, but ask him, he'll tell you. And this old fella comes out, yep, he's gonna do that. It's just it's awful.
It's somebody was tasked with trying to give this character a lot going on, and they came up with just a weird selection of fucking things. Like, it's they so really confused. Did. He's and it's like there's elements of the Shadow as well, where he has the taxi driver bringing him around to places. Oh, yeah. So it's just like he's got both of those identities and the superhero identity. It's interesting reading through these just to sort of try and see where it comes from. The Marvel Spotlight issues, they're not great. They are just trying too hard, and there's an odd amount of calling a guy a pansy and twinkle toes, and like as you said, I think Moon Knight's homophobic in his first bloody issue.
Yeah.
So
it's not. Yeah, that's like,
this character's come a long way.
Yeah, well, the world has come a long way since those things, and it's just you read it now and like it's just like. And it's like
it's 1976.
Yeah, there's nothing's implied that this guy is like gay. Like you're not reading it thinking like this character is, but it's just all the slurs that Moon Knight says to him, and it's just kind of like, God, that's rough, that's brutal. But it's a sign of times. Yeah, pansy. Hey Frenchie, there's a pansy outside, and twinkle toes, and oh Jesus, like it's not cool, but again, more reflection of times than actual like Moon Knight's thing, because obviously, they retconned a load of that stuff, they got a load of that stuff out of there, so it's all good. But yeah, it's an interesting book. You can see why he kind of took off in the way he did, like with those initial comics and stuff. I think it would have been, intriguing to some people, but like, how would he compete with others, And I really just jumped into the multiple personality things really, really fast. you know, in that Marvel spotlight. They had an idea. It's just like, we have to give this guy an edge, so he's a bit different, and that's all they did.
Yeah, I'm really optimistic that I think I said it last week as well. I'm really optimistic that this series is going to force them to just formalize a lot of shit here, and then that's going to set the tone moving forward. Because
Moon Knight's
wobbly.
Moon Knight's messy.
He's a great looking character.
He's a great looking character, and the more books, or the more recent books and all that kind of stuff that they've done, even the last 15 years, are far better than some of the more kind of like redundant stuff that was in previous books or whatever. You know what I mean?
What do you make of the cape
so much
in
of it?
the 76 one?
Oh, the crescent cape.
Yeah, it's a little like half cape that ties to his wrists.
Yeah. Oh God, Moon Knight's cape is like a weird one. There's versions of Moon Knight I like, and there's versions I don't like. I don't like the one where he's kind of wearing a black suit with like white pads and a white hood. You know, I like when he's wearing the all white and stuff.
That's the most recent Shalvey one, is it?
Don't know if Shalvey did that one. But he did more Mr. Knight and stuff. He could have done some of it, and I don't mind Shalvey's drawings of it. To be fair,
he did.
But I just don't like. I've seen it like in kind of, I say, like other drawings or as cartoons or whatever. But it's just, I'm not mad on that look aesthetically. But the Crescent Moon Knight, or the Crescent Cape, nah, man. Like, you know, kind of. It's like you can only bring, like, you know, have the moon symbol on your chest. That's enough. You know, it's like kind of. It's like, I understand from a comic book artist and drawing it and for fun and what might look cool, it's a nice little touch, but whether or not it kind of would work in a live action scenario, maybe not.
It was interesting going back to that first one to see the costume, because he does have this crescent moon thing that ties to his wrists, which is not like the full cape we're used to.
Did he have that in Werewolf by Night? Did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you look at him, his outfit is it's kind of black, like straight down the middle, down the trouser legs, and he's got these white panels left and right. So that Shalvey look, and it is the Shalvey one, and I can kind of show it to you there.
Yeah, see, that's cool looking, but I still liked when he was like I like the David Fincher. That's always gonna be like one of my favorite, you know.
That's a cool look, like. It's different from what I'm used to with the black, but like now I'm surprised that like originally all that black was kind of in there. That the all white thing was a sort of later change, so it's kind of a little like back to his roots kind of thing. So I mean, I guess that's Moon Knight.
It's fun kind of going back and reading these stories and stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna keep with it. I'm gonna read like when he got his first proper run after this Spotlight stuff, you know, and see how that goes. And then I'll probably reread the Finch stuff. I'll read as much Moon Knight as I can, to be honest. You know, I got some good comic books this week. I read the latest issue of Radiant Black. Kyle Higgins is writing that one. I liked it. Kyle Higgins is a writer for other books. He did Nightwing. I think he did some Carnage books and stuff. And he did a lot of Power Rangers. Radiant Black was a really good book. Issue 3 was phenomenal and what happened in it. Issue 4 though has just turned into like American Power Rangers, and I'm not sure if I'm really into it, to be honest. I was really digging it. I'll reserve kind of judgment just yet, but it's like kind of came from like a really cool concept to meeting another Radiant Red essentially, and now the last one just finished with like a yellow and a pink one showing up, and it's just like this is Power Rangers, like this is Power Rangers, or Steven, but you know what I mean, like, well, this is literally like, this is Power Rangers, basically. They look like Power Rangers. But they're okay. Let's go.
I think we are sort of rounding up and wrapping up the episode here. I watched the trailer as well for How It Ends. Did anybody see that? It's like like it kind of looks a little like Seeking a Friend for the End of the World. There was a couple of those shows with sort of like emotional dramas around a apocalypse coming or an asteroid coming to the end of the world. Zoe Lister-Jones, Kaylee Spenny, Whitney Cummings, Finn Wolfhard, Nick Kroll, Logan Marshall-Green, Bobby Lee, Fred Armisen, Glenn Harrington, Bradley Whitford, Helen Hunt, Olivia Wilde, Rob Hubel, Paul Scheer, Colin Hanks, Charlie Day, Pauly Shore. It's a whole whack of people in this show. This person, Pauly Shore, shows up, kind of walking around Los Angeles sort of dealing with their life, knowing it's kind of coming to an end. I was watching it going, everybody seems to be a healthy 2 meters away from each other, so this feels like a real like pandemic production. You know, you could grab somebody for half a day because nobody had anything else to do last year.
Yeah.
Curious to see what it is. I like all of those people, and I like funny things, so hopefully that'll be something. The other thing I got reminded of was the Morbius trailer.
Oof, yeah, I didn't watch it, but totally forgot about
that trailer came out solidly a year ago, and somebody mentioned it somewhere this week, and I realized I had completely forgotten that fucking thing existed. And it goes back to, I guess, the sort of Sony Spider-Man extended universe stuff, and I'm just so uncertain about that stuff. I mean, it doesn't fucking... I don't know, it doesn't mean anything at the end of the day. It's just more movies that you just sort of ignore. But we've got Venom Carnage coming out, and they're starting to talk about who'll play Black Cat if they did a standalone with her. That's a good character. Like, that's a good, like, cat burglar, crime, heisty character. But
Black Cat was always awesome. She was cooler than Spider-Man.
Yeah. Do you have any faith in these movies coming from Sony, though?
Not really, no.
Oh.
No. Did I tell you I rewatched? Yeah, we didn't talk about it. I rewatched Thor 2 Dark World or whatever it's called.
All right.
Surprisingly enough, probably Emer's like she liked it, but then the ending blew her away and she loved it. Do you know when?
What was the ending?
Odin is talking to Thor, and Thor's saying like Odin's basically like, you'll make a great king, you know, and he's like, you know, I'd rather be he'd make a good king, and he'd be like, I'd rather be a great man than a good king. The throne is not for me, blah blah blah. And Odin's just like, I totally respect your, you know, beliefs, or I totally respect your opinion. And if you want to be kind of like more involved in Midgard and kind of like protecting it there, but just protecting all of the 9 realms and all that kind of stuff, and not doing it kind of a king role capacity, that's fine. You have my blessing. And then he walks away, and when he walks away, it's like dun dun dun. It was Loki. So faked his death on the world, on whatever, on the Dark World. Faked his death. Asgardian kind of recovery type soldiers or whatever were out there, and they found Loki. Obviously Loki swapped places with him. Then Loki approaches Odin and says, hey, we found Loki. And then Loki swapped places with Odin, you know. But yeah, so it was kind of like a twist that Loki survived and had actually taken Odin's role.
And she loved that twist.
Yeah.
She's going to be pretty disappointed the fact that the very next time we see Odin, it's immediately done away with.
Did it not acknowledge it at all, no?
Well, if you remember, Thor comes back to Asgard and finds Loki impersonating Odin.
Yeah.
And just shakes him out of it, basically immediately, and they go and find Odin.
Yeah, well, but you know, we'll see. Captain America Winter Soldier's next. So I'm dying to watch it.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, she liked Thor 2 more, I'd say, than any of the Iron Man movies, which is funny.
Yeah, it's interesting because that is not a lot of people's favourite film.
No, it's like considered one of the worst. But I having rewatched, obviously rewatching these movies, I said every week. But I loved it, man. It was so good. I hated Thor 2 when I saw it in the cinema. Hated it, and I was watching it the other day, and I loved it. I thought it was fun.
I never got all the hate for it. Like, it's not the most exciting in terms of what it does in the Marvel universe. But all
the Loki Thor stuff in it's good.
Yeah. I was annoyed that who's your friend, the fucking Captain Marvel Shazam guy?
Zach Levi. Yeah.
That's your pre-Luke Evans man crush.
No, excuse me.
You liked Luke Evans before that?
No, I like Thomas Jane.
I thought he was a weird recast for the other guy. The other guy was great in that
Fidaldo or
role
something.
As one of the Warriors 3, Fandral.
Why did they recast him?
The other guy got on that show once upon a time as Prince Charming or something, and he just had to go off and do another show.
But like, to be honest,
did you see? We'll wrap up on this.
They're bitty roles, but yeah.
We'll wrap up on this. They're doing a Gaston prequel series, so yeah. Luke Evans is
Could be
Luke
singing
Evans
and
is
dancing.
singing and dancing. I'll leave you to finish out the podcast as I have to answer this call.
Slán while, yeah. So, Brian, it's just me and you again.
It's just us.
Wow.
Again.
Wow.
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 Wow. Wow. Wow.
All right, shut the fuck up.